purpose-filled episode of Lessons for the Journey. We are live at Motor City Java House. Let me give you the address. The address is 17336 Lasser Road, Detroit, Michigan, 48219. So I know a lot of you already know about how amazing this space is. Connected to Irish Village, connected to Redford Theater, connected to Sweet Potato Sensations, right? And connected to the community. So it's such a good time to be here. And so as we talk about during the opening of our podcast, that we will be live and remote at spaces. And so joining us today is you and some of the people who are in the cafe today who will be, adding comments, sharing some thoughts on our amazing topics that I'm not going to tell you yet. I'm going to finish with my intro. So the purpose of this podcast is to share insights and information on women's wellness, understanding our whys, and the lessons that inspire us to take positive action in ourselves, our families, and our communities. Our topics focus on women's wellness, seeing through a metaphysical lens, sharing spiritual insights, highlighting lessons for the journey, and building healthy relationships. I am your host, Dr. Hetheru Miller, and I share this space with engaging co-hosts, guests, inspiring topics every Friday at 12 noon for a transformational 1-hour experience here on Podcasting Live, on Facebook, and on YouTube. I want you to know that you can expect deep, thought-provoking conversations on self-discovery and personal growth, special guests, locations like today, events, people, goals, and thoughts. Our co-hosts share wisdom and life-changing insights. We have a powerful blend of spiritual, metaphysical, and wellness lessons. And finally, tools and strategies to help you elevate your mind, your body, and your spirit. Our show is produced by Chantel Mosley of Podcasting Studios. Our co-hosts are Jada Raines, Maat Sabah, Mary Bayou, Nicole S. Miller, and special appearances by my own singer, Dr. Calvin T. Mann. Our message to you is that if you are seeking clarity, healing, and personal empowerment, this is the podcast for you. So tune in, engage, transform, because your journey to self-discovery starts now. So we want you to buckle down, get your journals, get your notebook, get your ink pens, get inspired and evolve today. So we are going to jump right into our topic today. I am going to just lean over to my co-host because I always put her on the spot first. Hi, Matt.
Hello.
So it's just spending time with you.
You as well.
Well, our topic for today, I thought is really inspiring, seeing as we are moving to the end of not just maternal health, but Black maternal health, and how we're looking at our women's wellness. And so today's topic, however, I'm really excited about. It is called the synergy of sister circles and groups. So I really am excited about this conversation today. But as we always do, we start off with some questions. So the question that I have for today is, how was your first child, or who was your first childhood best friend, and what made you friends?
Ooh. You always have me retch, like way back. Oh, man. Okay. Her name was Susan. And I think we started out in elementary school. And then we went to junior high together. And then after junior high, we went to different high schools. What made us best friends? I really don't know. I guess we just kind of clicked. She lived down this about 5 blocks away from me. And so she would have to walk past my house to get to school.
Okay.
So I guess we just kind of clicked. But actually, she probably was the only person I would consider to be a best friend. You have friends and then you have your besties.
Right.
So she would be the only one that I would have considered to be my bestie back then.
Okay. Wow. So let's see. It's really interesting because who I consider so I had to go back and think, because I'm thinking I have 3 that kind of
they kind of came around the same time. But my first best friend, who I really declared being my first best friend, her name was Angie. Angie lived down the street from me. And pretty much when they moved there, like our families had been there for a while before they even moved on the block. So, but yep, Angie was my best friend. I recall us fighting together. I recall us sharing together. And one of the things about Angie, she had made up in her mind early that she was going to be a model. And she could not be deterred from that. And one of the amazing parts of our journey was kind of when we started to separate. And we shared a lot of secrets together because our sisters were best friends. And, so when our breakdown in our friendship was really when she decided she didn't want to go to school anymore. And so that kind of pushed us apart. And I think part of what brought us together, one, was that our sisters were friends, that we had a lot in common, and we were just sharing the space. When I think about that, I think about what that felt like to pull away. And she just got tired of me trying to encourage her to stay in school. She's like, I'm not doing that. I'm going to be a model. Wow. And so it was no change in her mind. And so that really was one of the things that kind of pushed us apart. And then my next best friend moved into the neighborhood. And so this was about 11. I guess I was 11. And so my next best friend moved into the neighborhood. And we were best friends for a long time into our adulthood. And then, she moved to Ohio when, I don't know, we were about 14. She moved. And then another sister down the street, our friendship started to bloom, and she became another best friend. But by that time, I was in a circle of friends. That's why it was hard when I started thinking about it. I had a circle of friends, and because of that circle of friends, everybody was best friends. So anyway, that's kind of what made me think about this topic today and kind of the synergy that brings people together. And I think that was a good way to kind of open this up, thinking about our best friends and how far back we can go when we think about that. But everything in our childhood, or let me say, a lot in our childhood sets the tone for who and what we become as adults, what we believe, and the ideas that we follow. And one of the interesting things about that is you have to be intentional about unpacking those things of childhood, because you take those ideas right along with you. Absolutely. And it becomes your norm and your culture. And if you don't start to unpack that or look at it differently, or really look at how it has impacted your choices today, we can get stuck there, and we don't know where that comes from. So I think it's a good conversation to have today.
Absolutely.
So the second question is, what is the difference between your first sister circle and your current one?
So I guess my first sister circle would have been relatives.
Okay.
My mom started a sister circle because she had, oh God, don't make me count, four sisters, I think. Okay. And so she wanted to create an environment for us to have conversations. Whatever you wanted to discuss was put out on the table. So it was her sisters and her sisters' daughters. So that would have been my first official sister circle.
What was that like?
It was interesting. And they say everything happens for a reason. It really does. Right. The path that I'm on now started with that sister circle. Mom had a lady come. She had a lady come to talk about how, making final arrangements and creating your will and that type of thing. Then she had another lady come that was a representative for Alternatives for Girls. Previous to that, I had been this real strong, overwhelming feeling that I wanted another child. I wanted a girl. I just kept feeling this energy of wanting a girl, and I already had a daughter. And I don't think I was really interested in having another child. So there were no girls in the neighborhood close by, so she didn't really have anybody to play with. So I was going to try and look for a girl that she could play with. And then when this lady came, maybe about 6 months later, associated with this strong feeling, I said, let me go to. I got a invitation from them to be, I guess, some kind of a mentor or something. So I went to the meeting, and that's where I met my spiritual sister now, who just started working there. So Mom's Sister Circle, we met a couple more times, and then it kind of like just faded away. And I'm like, that to me was the purpose of me going, because that set me on one aspect of this spiritual journey that I'm on. Now, when I got there to take the classes for being a mentor, they never called me back. I never mentored one day, but it was only to meet my spiritual sister. I mean, as they say, who would have thought?
Right.
That's how that happened. So compared to my sister circle now, that's how it started, because she would have been my first spiritual sister to be involved in the spiritual sister circles that I have now. So in essence, the difference between the two is the first one was more emotional, and it was relatives. But this one here is strictly a spiritual circle. So,
wow.
Yeah,
So
it was
give me an idea of the distance between the time of your initial sister circle and your current one. Like, what's the time we're looking at?
10, 15 years. Because my daughter was probably around 5, I'm thinking. Yeah, so it might have been about 10 to 15 years.
Wow. Wow. And do you feel like you seasoned in that time as it relates to being a part of a sister circle?
Oh, yeah. My spiritual circle took me to a whole level that I didn't even know could exist. So, it's just I've done a complete shift in the person that I was, because, the first sister circle, I was a mom, and it was moms connecting with moms.
Okay.
With this spiritual circle, it is spiritual women connecting with spiritual women. It's just a whole nother level that I couldn't even conceive of.
Right. Understood.
Yeah,
Wow,
it's deep.
insightful. That's insightful. So my first sister circle in my neighborhood, we had the way that we fought or interacted was dance competitions. So it wasn't a lot of physical fighting, but you could challenge the people on the block. And so we used to have a lot of dance routines and a lot of routine chat. This is a little bit before break dancing. It's a little. This was during Let It Whip. Y'all remember that song, Let It Whip? Okay, so this is a little around that time. I just remember one of our dance routines from that. And we first got together because I had a cousin that was a DJ. And he would take us he asked us to get a group together, get a dance routine together, and he would take us to the different places that he was DJing, and we would be like the entertainment, because we would do these dance routines. And so from that, those conversations and us living so close together, we started to form this sister circle. And in this sister circle, we didn't call ourselves that. We called ourselves the Sweethearts. The Sweethearts. And so everybody in the group had a name of a sweet. And so my sister that's older than me, and she's on the darker end of brown, and I was on the lighter end of brown. And so my sister's sweet name was Susie Q. My name was Twinkie. You get the difference in the... Yeah. So those were our sweet names. And then my baby sister, who was... My oldest sister didn't really like to have me around. I was just a nagging little sister. But my younger sister, I always had her with me. And her name was Skittles. because she was bite-sized. So everybody had a sweet name. We had Kit Kat and Sugar Baby and Susie Q and what was TJ's name? TJ was Almond Joy. So everybody, and we had T-shirts, and so this wasn't what the other groups were doing, but and I had a cousin. Hers wasn't a suite though. She started it though. She got the shirts made for us, so she was China Doll, and she's still China Doll. But that's what she had on the back of her shirt. But that was one of our first sister circles. We got together to dance, which is one of the rituals that we are talk about that women come together around. But to dance and then to build bonds and relationships, and we were teenagers, so this is between my first sister circle, which I would say I was about 14, 15, and my current one, 50, about 45 years between my first sister circle and my current sister circle. Yeah, I've been doing this for a long time.
Yeah, when you start putting numbers on.
Yes, and I think that's, as we kind of get into this conversation about the synergy of sister circles and groups, I think that's a really good place to start. And so if you're listening out there, we want you to go through this process too. So we want you to start off with your best friend, how you became friends. That's a really important one. The second one is your sister circles. So what's the difference between your present sister circle and your first sister circle? And so the difference for me was really maturity. It's really maturity, because the sister circle I have right now, you can bring whatever is on your heart and on your mind, and if you don't say it, they're going to pull it out of you. You do not get to sit on the sideline. You do not get to have whatever energy is, circulating under your surface that you won't talk about. It's going to come out, and I think that's part of the synergy of what brings us together as a sister circle. And they're just so talented, dynamic, powerful women. Look, the hair standing on top of my arm.
And it is.
It's just it's the energy. And I feel that now, because probably I'm sitting right next to one. But I mean, it's that synergy that you are not alone. Even if you want it to be, somebody's going to pull you. Whatever that cap is that you're holding, it's going to come off. And that's really the difference between my first sister circle as a teenager, the maturity. Like, you would keep all those things to yourself sometimes because you don't want people to judge you, or you don't want to feel like you exposed yourself. And even at that age, as a teenager, now that I think about it, that was something that was at the top of my mind. I already knew I was different. And because I was different in a group of women, young girls who were different too. But they were still in a space where they would conform to what the environment was, and I wasn't. Yep. So, and I'm in an environment where all the women are very different, and all of us are nonconformists. I mean, and not just to be defiant, but because we rise to do what we have been called to do, and that supersedes any of the ego, any of the hesitation or reservation, because you can't have anything blocking what you've been called to do. I think that's a really big, important thing for our sister circle. So,
when you talk about the calling, when you have a calling on your life, it's something that most people don't understand. They don't understand what comes along with it, the sacrifice that you make, the fear of stepping into that, whatever that is. So when you have a sister circle of women who have callings, they understand what it takes to walk that path, and then they keep holding you up on the times that you want to run, or the times that you're dragging your feet intentionally. And then when you get that drive, it's like, okay, I'm doing this. Right. So you have that support system because they understand what comes along with it. And it's a calling is something you have to do it. I mean, you literally, that's what you were born to do. It's not a choice. And most people don't understand that. So you can't not do it.
Right, for sure. So, if we have any sisters that want to chime in on sister circles, best friends.
Have to share so they can see it.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I'll come sit right here.
Can you see her, Shanti?
Nope.
Can you
It's okay.
squeeze?
It's okay. I can
Can you squeeze here?
Yeah, I'll squeeze in.
Okay.
I'm flexible. So I'm here in the coffee shop listening to you all with this conversation, and I'm here with one of my best friends from high school. Right?
Oh, classic.
Her name is Lucinda. And I was telling her about a story that happened back when we got out of high school years ago. And she was like, well, I didn't know that's how that happened. Why didn't you tell me, about that? She was like, I think it was your shame. And you went into isolation, you know what I'm saying, shortly after that. And we were kind of talking about this, but the maturity that we've experienced over the years, what we've done, decades ago versus what we're doing now for ourselves and our families have come out of that maturity, right? And so I am accountable to her in a way that I wasn't back then. I could go months without talking to her when I felt like I'd made a mistake or there was some area of my life that I wanted to keep a secret. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Whereas now she'll come find me. What's going on? What are you dealing with? Look, I'm dealing with this too, or such and such is dealing with this too. Don't isolate like that. You know what I'm saying? And it lessens the impact of whatever error or misstep that I've taken,
Right.
And that's just one-on-one. What I will also say about sister circles is at this point of maturity, you can recognize when someone doesn't have a sister circle, okay? And it's so easy to create them now because of the tools that we have.
Right.
So there's a young lady that I've met who recently, she's got 2 sons, and then she just recently had her 3rd son. Me and my best friend are moms of 3 boys as well.
Wow.
Okay.
Okay.
We've got a group of friends that have 3 boys as well. And so when this other mom was having her baby, I was like, oh, now you got to be in the squad. You got 3 boys. You got to be in the squad. And so we created a group me chat just to talk about some of the dynamics of mothering boys that is unique. It's not the same if you have a mix of boys and girls.
Right.
It's not the same if you have just one boy. It's a unique situation when you're mothering 3 boys. So you know what I'm saying, multiple boys. And so it was easy to ask my friend, like, hey, can you bring your friends together? And I bring this young lady on who's younger than us and kind of newer to this multiple boys situation, and we can share with her what we're going through. Now it's coming along. It's a slow go because life is life.
Right.
But the tools that we have at our fingertips to be inclusive in our sister circles
Right.
are top notch.
Yes.
Top notch.
So here's a question for you. When you think about that, think about synergistically what's holding you guys together. So we know the experience. We know that motherhood itself is magnetizing.
Yeah.
And so we know that those are part of the elements. But look at that. Here, stand up again.
Yes.
But what would you say? Because every circle is unique.
Yeah.
But the like a golden thread that runs through a circle is that one thing that synergizes you. What would you say that is for your group?
A desire to thrive and elevate for ourselves, but so that our kids and those connected to us can do the same. The desire, the need, the absolute need to keep going when all odds are against you, and the fact that we need a shared experience just to even feel like we're up to the task. I need, like, for instance, Halloween. But Halloween
Yes.
and we're out in the neighborhood. This past fall, it was so beautiful, and everything around me outside of that day was falling apart, and I needed that time with my sisters for the kids to get out and experience and do whatever they need to do. But it was rejuvenating. You know what I'm saying? It was coming together to have that celebration was rejuvenating. And I can't even tell you what the issue was that I was experiencing in my life that was so perplexing, but I know it was one. But I recall us coming together and celebrating together, helping me move forward. You know what I'm saying?
I do, absolutely. And you still got me.
So yeah, I think that this conversation is so timely. I am so thankful to God to just be sitting over there listening to y'all and the wisdom that y'all got going back and forth. So I'm gonna duck out.
Thank you. You should listen in, tune in, and call in when you guys have some time.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
I have 2 boys. I can only imagine 3.
Girl, it's a fun household.
Thank you. All right, so
We do have a third question, but I think we're going to cover some of the interesting things about sister circles, and then we'll come back to the last question. It's a lot of stuff here. You know, I'm a over researcher, over information. So, but you gotta love me anyway, right?
Oh.
Thank you.
You can't get rid of me. I don't care what you do.
That's right. Thank you. All right, so circles and women's groups, especially within the context of Black women experiences, offer a powerful synergy that fosters healing, empowerment, and sense of belonging. And that's just what we were talking about, right? Mm-hmm. These gatherings, rooted in African American traditions, provide safe spaces for women to connect, share, and support one another, ultimately impacting their spiritual well-being and overall sense of self. That is so huge, that you are able to connect in a way where your identity, where you feel like you have one.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's super important.
Keyword, safe space.
Safe space.
That's really important.
That is extremely important in a sister circle. A women's circle is a sacred space where women join together to be seen, heard, and witnessed. Doesn't that sound? I like the idea of being witnessed. I like the idea of being witnessed, and to me, that it just affirms that my experiences are valid, that my choices, I can remove the judgment because I can't change what's behind me. I can only change what's in my now, and my now can help me make adjustments for my then or my when. And so I think that's a really important feeling, to feel witnessed, like I'm here. And I like when, I forget what movie it was, when he says, I see you. What movie? You know what movie I'm talking about?
I'm horrible at that.
It's a saying, and it actually is an African proverb too that talks about how I see you. Not just seeing you with my eyes, I feel you in your presence. I feel that you exist. I recognize that you exist. I recognize the divine in you. You acknowledge the divine in me. And I think that's part of that sense of feeling witness too. It's a space of empowerment to have your beauty and brilliance reflected back to you. And so in my sister circle, the one that I have that has helped me to evolve over these last, 15 years? Has it been 15 years? It has to be 15 years.
Minimum, yeah, minimum.
I mean, I'm saying the circle, the current circle. Probably about 15 years, right?
Since we met?
Oh, no.
Since we met,
it's been over 25 years.
Yeah.
It's been over 25 years. But how, and I guess I'm looking at it, how it has helped to evolve me as a woman, as a person, as a being, as someone who has something to contribute to the world. And it's affirmed and it's lifted up. And it's reflected back, because you're looking at other people who have a calling, a purpose. It's a reflection. When it talked about your beauty and brilliance, I think sister circles are really good spaces to feel that way and to feel safe and saying, I'm beautiful. I'm looking at this woman. She's beautiful. and being able to see that, really see somebody's beauty, and in a way that is authentic and not something that's been programmed in you, not something that's been determined by media, because media will show you or tell you or make you feel like you're not beautiful because you don't meet this prototype.
Exactly.
And it's a prototype not even based in something real.
Exactly.
And
It's
so
like Barbie, they talk about Barbie.
Right.
They said Barbie doesn't even have real human proportions. No woman is proportioned like that. So we started out in deception.
want to be.
Because her legs were like,
Her legs are
were exceptionally long. Yeah, so she was disproportioned. So we started out with superficial, false images of what we're supposed to fashion ourselves as.
Right.
But when you have a sister circle, everybody has a piece. They have a piece to bring.
Right.
You have a piece to bring. And so it's important to be able to connect with those of like minds, like hearts, like spirits. Like hearts is important.
That's it.
Like spirits, so that you can bounce off of each other and you feed each other.
Literally, we feed each other.
Exactly.
Food is at the center of that circle.
Yeah, that's a very important aspect of them.
Yes.
Is we feast.
And potluck.
Yeah.
The idea of potluck and carrot salad. That's all I got to say.
I'm gonna bring you some.
Please bring me
I
some
just had a
carrot
busy
salad.
week, but I'm not gonna let you know. I'm gonna surprise you.
I just, and it's such an anomaly to have a carrot salad that you can't replicate. I don't care how many times she's given this doggone instructions for this recipe. It does not look, feel, or taste like what you make.
I think you all are setting me up. My kids do the same thing
It's
with
true,
cabbage. Like,
because it's
we
true.
can't make it like you just want me to do it.
Well, of course we
I'm
want you
gonna
to do
treat
it.
you regardless, but I really feel I'm being set up sometimes. No, but in all seriousness, you can have this one recipe, have 10 people make that one recipe, and you're gonna have 10 different flavors.
Right.
So it is true. It is the truth
Yes,
about that, and I
yes.
get it. I'm okay with it. I don't mind.
Thank you. It is what sets it off. That's what we are always asking for.
I'm gonna hook you up.
And so I like the idea that you talk about being fed, though. Physically, spiritually, emotionally. I think it's so important in a circle to have people around you who feed you. Feed good in you, find the good in you, uplift you. I like holding the intention for you.
The other thing too, when you for a person that has a calling, when you have a sister circle and life starts lifing, but you still have to deal with this calling, you can call one of them and they can give you some guidance and information that a person who does not have a calling can't give you, because it's a certain understanding. It's like for a man to fully raise a daughter, there's certain aspects he just can't do. He can't relate to that. I can't fully raise my son. He has to have some male influence. It's the exact same thing. So if you don't have a calling, there's certain components to the calling that only a person that has a calling understands.
That is true.
And so you need people to feed you in those areas that you might have a deficit in at the time.
Right.
So when life starts life, and you can have an emergency, say you have an emergency in your family, but there's something in your calling that you have to do, and it's time sensitive.
Right.
Like, how do you navigate that?
And
so
where do you
sometimes
turn,
you need help.
Who do you turn to where you won't feel judged?
Exactly.
Because I like the fact that you said this a couple hundred times before, but you talk about you don't choose your biological family, you choose your spiritual family. And I think that's another layer, if you will, to look at sister circles. Like you are choosing the sisters that you will have around you. And I think that's really huge. And not that I didn't love my big sister. I actually idolized her, and I followed her around like a little puppy because I wanted to just be in the space with her. I wanted to see her walk. I wanted to see she's beautiful, and I always was trying to find my way, what everything I could do to get close enough to understand her, to watch her. And she's like, would you stop? Would you just, so we were about a little more than 4 years apart. And so I was going into high school, she was going out.
Yeah.
And it's always kind of that change in the night. And so and she's going through all the things that young women go through, and I'm watching. I'm like, oh, I want to do that. Oh, I want that too. And she's like, now as we're adults, it's a lot different.
Yeah.
Our conversations are different. So the things I have to say, she has a lot of value, a lot of respect for the things I say. And I always laugh to myself when she calls or she's asking for advice on something. I'm like, she asking me. I would never tell her that. So I hope you're not watching today. Watch next week, right? But I mean, those things are really important. I know you have a sister. And how is that? How was that for you guys growing up?
Well, it's different because she's 4 years younger than me. So the same thing. We didn't have the same friends. By the time she was a teenager, I was having children, married, gone. So we never, it was just a connection that wasn't made. And it didn't get made until she had children, so she could relate on it because she was the babysitter for me.
Right.
A lot of times. And then when she had hers, I was in a whole different space in my life, and then life really started life in times 10. So it just, until we started our sister circle is when me and her got together on a different level that we didn't get an opportunity to when we were younger.
Right.
Again, everything in divine order, everything happens for a reason. So
but I think your relationship is different because you guys are both, on a metaphysical, spiritual journey. And for my sister, she's on a physical journey. And so the metaphysical and the spiritual part is not really at the forefront of her journey. Although she has a calling in her life, it's a difference between how she approaches that calling. It's everything physical. She has degrees and certifications and experience in this level. And she has things happen to her to help her to know that she's a spiritual being. But mostly everything she does is, on terra firma, on earth. It's earthbound. And I walk on earth. I don't use that as my parameter. And so that's an area where we're different. Like and that's one of the things that makes me different in my family is that everybody else is very much grounded on the surface of the earth, and I'm like, I'm one with the earth, I'm one with the sky, I'm one with the heavens, and they're looking like, no, it's just the sky, and I'm like, are you kidding? Look at it. And they're looking at me like, yeah, no, come back and walk with us, and I'm like, if I step down here, I'm gonna go through it because this is not my reality. So it's the illusion. It's the illusion that we're firmly planted on the ground. And so I don't resonate in that space. So that is one of the aspects of my sisters that makes me different.
When you said that, it made me think about because I was always the weirdo, and still am, and I'm proud
Welcome
of
to
it.
Weird.
The weirdo in the whole family dynamic. And they say every family has a healer, and the healer in the family is going to be the weirdo. People don't recognize that, honor or respect it until later on. So, and you have to become, not have to, but it takes strength to understand that. It takes strength to be comfortable with it ultimately, because you want to be accepted by everybody, but you're not. You're always trying to be this round hole trying to fit into this square, and it's not going to happen no matter what you do.
Not
you can
anymore.
be as nice as you want, you can be as giving as you want, you are still going to be the weirdo because that's your role in the family. And when time goes by and they start to see who you are and your place in the family, then they will start to treat you differently and start to respect you in a different type of way.
Yes.
Because you have the answers that on the soul level they know they need, but they're not going to come to you because you're the weirdo. But at some point in time, when life catches up with them, as they start to grow spiritually, they will realize that, oh yeah, she or he has the answers.
Right.
And I'll have to humble myself. They have to find a way to humble themselves to come and approach you. It's like, well, what was that tea that you said that? It's like, okay.
Right.
So you go on and give them the answers that they need, but it's a calling, and the healer in the family, being a healer in the family is a calling,
Right.
but it's a different type of calling.
Right, for sure.
So that would be like a local type calling, and then there's national or global type callings.
Right.
So.
And the realization that you're on this path, and I think that's where that anchor, I think that's why we have that synergistic relationship with women on that level, because you need that. You need that. One, you need it just in the subtle energy bodies. Like I was sharing with somebody, I want to say it was yesterday. I was sharing with Jada, our co-host, about the way that you show people their heart, how open their heart is using the pendulum. And we were having a conversation about the things that close you off and close your heart, especially when it comes to family. And I was like, you need to do this. I said, I really would like for you at some point to do this activity so you can really see the impact that you have on people, even when it's in your family. That that how much energy that we expend in just the subtle energy bodies. That it's not that it has their levels, but we're all interconnected, and that's part of why we're interconnected. And I think when you are in the sister circle, you are able to literally, like the circle, the sphere of influence and the sphere of energy that you share, you get to compound that, and it gets to amplify. And that's how we reach other women who are in other spaces. And when you run into somebody and you meet them, like, my hair going off. I feel like my alarms are going off. But when you're gathered in that space and you're drawn to somebody, you see somebody, and I tell people, well, I tell myself this, and I tell people who are really studying with me, somebody might walk up and say, I really like your glasses. Your glasses are so nice. And what they're feeling is your energy, and they don't know how to express it, but to find some physical object, because you can feel somebody's spirit, but for us, we've been programmed to look at things. It has to be a thing that's represented. So, like, oh, that's such a nice necklace, or your shoes. And I'm thinking, I'm glad you feel me. I feel you too. And that's what's happening in my head when somebody walks up and I say thank you. And I'm saying thank you because you see the divine in me. I feel the divine in you, right? I know that's why you're drawn. That's why you're saying anything. And it's so, in this time that we're in, women are approaching women. And I'm not talking about in a romantic way. I'm saying they feel you, but they have to say something that makes sense when I walk up to you. I can't say, oh, I'm just feeling you. You think, okay, well, you're weird. And I'm like, but I'm weird and I feel that, right? You can actually say that to me. Or you can come up to me and say, you know what? I just want to hug you. I feel that. I understand. Give it to me. And I'll be asking for it. Y'all know I got the greedy fingers. Give it to me. Give me those. Give me those hugs. It means something to me. And I know I'm sharing my energy openly and willingly to you when I hug you. You may not understand the embrace, but I do. And so that same synergy is keep having my alarms go off. Like, really, my alarms are going off. That same synergy, I feel that. And people do, but they don't say what it is. Like, you don't recognize it. We call it goosebumps. That's the energy exchange. It's coming from me, bouncing off you, and it's doing this. And it's going faster and faster. That's what's happening to us. But we don't recognize it. We call it goosebumps because that's what we know to call it. Right? Not because we know to call it what it really is. This is the synergy. This is the energy exchange. You feel me, you're amplifying it for me. And so, and the words is a conduit of that. Whatever is said that really kind of pulls your antenna up, that's how we're drawing that energy. That's why I go off like an alarm. I'm still going off like an alarm. The hair on my arm is literally standing up. But I'm surrounded by so much synergy right now. And this conversation is an energetic conversation too. So we're using it that way. This is what happens in sister circles. This is why the energy keeps flowing and we keep evolving. And the faster, the more circles we have, the more that synergy energy is in the atmosphere. This is why women are being elevated and put into position so that we can continue to make this change. But that part is, it's physical and it's spiritual and it's metaphysical, because there's the reasons by which that's happening, the channels by which that's happening. We are not always aware, but we know to gather. We know to come together. We know there's something about when we come together that makes us feel better. And so, Ma, you just let me go.
I mean, what you're saying is important. You know, the aspect of the sister circle, first of all, is ancient. There's been sister circles like forever.
Right.
The women in the temples. You know, so it's not new.
It's not new.
It's just a different name. You know, and women are not as, because of the programming of society and the media is intentionally keeping women separate from each other.
Right.
But what they don't understand is the power that women have, not only individually, but collectively.
Collective.
And so when women are around each other for a certain period of time, your systems start to sync.
Yeah.
You will have the same, if you have a menstrual cycle, you all will go on your cycle at the same time. So it's about frequency when it comes to healing, and it's about frequency. I was kind of thinking to myself one day, somebody was having some real deep challenges and they're like severely stuck. And so I was asking Spirit, I'm like, how do you get people unstuck? Like, what is it? Is it a modality? Is it a particular therapy? Is it, I mean, some herb? Like, how do you get a person that is so deeply rooted and stuck in their, whatever it is that in their consciousness, in the things that they believe in, their belief systems, in their fear? And I'm like, how do you get people unstuck? And Spirit said, frequency. So I started thinking about it, I'm like, well, that makes perfect sense, because everything is frequency. And if they're stuck at a certain frequency, then you expose them to something that is of a higher frequency.
Right.
So, like in the Bible, one of the examples is when the lady said, if I could just touch him with his garment, I'll be healed. Well, because he had exceptionally high frequency and she didn't. People use items like prayer cloths or certain religious items that have frequencies on them. And when you have those, put them on or hold them or use them for ritual or whatever, it elevates your frequency. So that's why it's important to have a circle of women who have high enough frequency.
Yes, absolutely.
A big enough heart, high enough frequency, and of a certain spiritual level.
Right.
And then you start feeding off of each other. You elevate each other. If you're having a down moment or sick or whatever, that is one way to elevate each other.
That is correct. That is correct. And it's and I like the fact that you brought up that this is not new.
No,
this is not new. But in the process of the evolution of woman and that sacred feminine energy, the conspiracies, the sabotage that has been presented, and almost in every generation, we have been pitted against one another, and that still echoes in the shadows. But I think even in the space that we're in now, we have learned and are learning how to overcome that. We are learning how to say, one, I forgive myself and I forgive you, because part of that was rooted in judgment.
Yeah, absolutely.
We look at somebody that's different from us. You may speak different. You may have a different community or family culture that you come from. And the judgment that we put on that, how we talk. We say ghetto and hood rat and thought and all of these kind of derogatory terms about women trying to find their way, right? Now, and women referring to themselves as the B word, right?
I can't stand that.
And so, right. So here's, if you're listening out here, I'm about to give you some tools to help this, and I know Ma'at has some too. The first one I want you to do is hold the intention for the woman in front of you. Hold the intention for her best, not judging what you see or what you hear, because you don't know the size of her shoes. You don't know the distance that she walked, and you don't know how deep the steps that she had to take, how much pressure that put on her. And you don't know the imprint that came from her foremothers and forefathers. We don't know their backstory. Often, what we do is look at what we see now. So the first thing I'm asking you to do is hold the intention, not the judgment. Judgment is good, bad, right, and wrong. Good, bad, right, and wrong. It puts that label of judgment on something. Well, she thinks she this, and why she gotta act like that, and that's judgment. So hold the judgment, hold the intention. I'm holding the intention for this sister's peace and elevation. Peace and elevation. If you can't think of anything else to offer, peace and elevation is what you can. Speak that like that. Speak that over her, into her. Say hello, and in the real undertone of that, I see you. I see the divinity in you. I see the sacred feminine in you. I see you. And we help people change that way, not by what we say, not by the thoughts in our mind, because we have to be able to control our own thoughts, because the first thing we do is judge. We've been programmed to judge first and get to know somebody later. So if you just hold the intention, and because it's hard to remove the judgment, I'm just asking to hold the intention for peace, elevation. Peace and elevation for her. That's what we do. You have something you want to add? What would be some tool that you offer?
I think it's important to ask questions, because sometimes just say, what do you need? Sometimes people don't even know what they need.
Right.
You know, they might be stressed about something, and maybe it's like, if you could just watch the kids for me so I could take a nap. I just need to relax. Maybe it's, which you saved my life, you know, it's a certain skill set that I didn't have in terms of setting the business up. And that was driving me crazy because I didn't have the skill set, or I didn't have the time. And so you brought something to the table that helped me. So it's like asking each other, what is it that you need? What's the most important in your life that you need right now? And then holding each other accountable. You know, I think that's very important. So, you know, and as everything else that you shared, and then just coming up with a ritual or a system to elevate them in their growth. That's important as well.
Right. And then seek new information. I'm going to give you my 5 steps to change really quickly. 5 steps to change. The first one is new information. So in order to get new information, you have to seek out new information. It's information in the ethers all the time. So what resonates with you is what you're going to pull down. What feels right, what looks interesting, those are things in how they resonate with you. Pull that new information down. The second is appreciation. Appreciating where that information is coming from, who it's coming from. Is this the wisdom of that? And can I apply it? So the third step is application. Taking the new information and applying it to your life and your life journey. The fourth one is transformation. When you are hungry and you eat, you're transformed from a hungry person to a full person. Transformation happens on different levels in different ways. The final step of change is elevation. And this is why elevation is important. When we live our life in cycles and seasons, that means you're going to see that thing again. But when you see it again, you're looking at it from a different perspective because you've already elevated. You transform because it doesn't have the same power it had over you before. Now you can elevate, but you're going to see it again. And that elevation is going to help you to work out your soul ties. It's going to help you work out those things that have been lingering that may not be fully your stuff. This could be your grandmother's stuff, your great grandmother's stuff. We are a collection. Our DNA is recording everything in every generation. This is why we talk about generational blessings and curses, because it's passed down and coded in your DNA. So if you didn't know that now. Everything you're saying, you're doing, decisions you're making, choices, is all being recorded. Just like your social media, and it's going to the vault to be used by whomever, because they own it at that time. You own this journey. And so that evolution that you're growing into is also recorded on your DNA. That means that's that much more you have for the generations behind you, that much more healing that's happened for the generations before you. If it's in your hands, it's because those ancestors need you to now take that, whatever it is that's broken, that is incomplete, or that needs to be fixed. That means you are now that generation, that hero or shero that has been given the opportunity to redeem those before you. So it's such an exciting opportunity to see who we are, what we are, and see how this whole process of life is playing out. You have the opportunity to change. You also have control over the world you want to see. My aunt, do you have anything you want to share in closing? And your information. How do people get in touch with you?
Well, my contact information is relationshipfirstaid.com. That's the website. Email address is relationshipfirstaid@yahoo. And Facebook and Instagram is Relationship First Aid. As far as a final comment, I think it's really important for women to seek out other women of like minds and like spirits. We're going through some challenging times in this day and time, and I think a lot of times people feel that they're alone. But there are women out there. There are those of like minds and like spirits that can help you. Especially with the internet, there's no excuse where you cannot find a group, even if it's online and you don't get an opportunity to meet in person. Find someone to connect with, that you spiritually connect with. When you feel them, then you know that that's right. And that's really important, because it helps you as an individual to grow and to be a better person, better mother, better mate. So find your circle.
I agree with that. Finding your tribe is huge. Mm-hmm. We call it by different names: sister circles, tribes, family, groups, sororities, sisterhoods. We do all of that. All of it ultimately have the same components, but it's really how it's constructed amongst that group. So you might get into a circle and it may not feel right for you, and it's okay. It's okay to step back. It's okay to be challenged too and still feel safe in that space. Challenge comes with those spaces, so don't run from the challenges. Embrace them, because when we talk about those 5 steps, new information, appreciation, application, transformation, and elevation, when we talk about that, it is a process. So don't expect to show up and everything is 100 or everything is 100%, including you. So you're in these spaces and drawn to these spaces. Look for your confirmation. What are you feeling energetically? Not just in your mind, and are you judging versus holding intention? So very important. So I am Dr. Hetheru, personal change coach, village elder. You can reach me at yourinspired with a D, yourinspiredjourney.com. You can reach me by phone. By phone, meaning you can call me at 313-759-7855. I need for you to keep journaling. I need for you to keep evolving and keep doing the self-work. Because remember, we're in cycles and seasons. You're going to see it again, but the next time you see it, you should see it from a more healed perspective. You should have more information because you've actually done some self-work and you found things and tools that resonate with you. You have been listening to Lessons for the Journey podcast with my Aunt Sabah. Dr. Hetheru, and Chantel Mosley, our producer. We thank you. We didn't get to hear your voice today, but I know you had so much to offer. Yes. So look for us. You can find the repeat of this podcast on Facebook, on Podcastic, and you can also find it on my YouTube channel. So find me, Dr. Hetheru, personal change coach, on YouTube, and find some of our previous episodes. So have an awesome weekend and stay clear.